I never imagined that betrayal could escalate to a moment so terrifying and unforgettable that it would haunt me forever. But that's exactly what happened when my husband discovered my affair and decided to take control of the situation in a way I'll never forget. This is my story, how my cheating, lies, and arrogance met consequences, and how I faced the terrifying weight of his revenge. My name is Sara. I had been married to my husband Adeel for 8 years. On the surface, we had a happy home, a stable life, mutual friends, and a marriage that looked perfect from the outside. I loved him, or at least I thought I did. But somewhere along the way, I convinced myself I deserved excitement outside of our marriage. The first signs that Adeel suspected something were subtle. He asked questions about my whereabouts that I couldn't easily dodge. He started noticing small inconsistencies in my stories and in my behavior. At first, I laughed it off, thinking my charm and manipulation would cover the truth. Then came the moment that changed everything. Adeel had begun to investigate discreetly. He discovered messages, photos, and even secret meetups with my affair partner, Cameron. The realization of being caught hit me like a physical blow, but I still underestimated him. I didn't think he would act. I didn't think he would have the courage or the cunning to deliver consequences in a way that would terrify me completely. One evening, Adeel invited me under the pretense of a serious talk. I brought Cameron with me, believing we could lie, manipulate, or charm our way out. But the moment we entered the house, the dynamic changed. Adeel calmly locked the door behind us. There was no shouting, no immediate confrontation, just a quiet, terrifying certainty in his eyes that I would never forget. I realized too late that he had orchestrated everything. He had gathered evidence, documented our deceit, and planned a confrontation designed to force us to face the reality of our betrayal. The room we were locked in became a stage, and we were trapped in the consequences of our own actions. Adeel began speaking calmly, outlining everything he had discovered: the affair, the lies, the betrayals, and the manipulations. Each revelation hit harder than the last, leaving Cameron and me speechless. There was no room for excuses. Every lie, every hidden moment had been documented and was now laid bare. Then came the terrible payback. Adeel didn't resort to physical violence, but his actions were psychologically devastating. He forced us to confront the gravity of our betrayal. He made us acknowledge the lies, the destruction caused, and the emotional toll on him and the marriage. He detailed the social consequences, the humiliation, and the loss of trust that our actions had caused. For hours, we sat there, stripped of excuses, forced to absorb the weight of our actions. Cameron's confidence crumbled, and I felt a mix of fear, guilt, and horror that I had never experienced. Adeel's revenge wasn't physical. It was far more powerful. It was psychological accountability, inescapable and undeniable. By the end of the night, Adeel unlocked the door. But the psychological impact remained. We left the house shaken, humiliated, and aware that our lives had changed irrevocably. The fear and guilt of facing the truth lingered long after we walked out. In the aftermath, Adeel filed for divorce. The evidence he had collected ensured that I lost all claims to shared assets, and Cameron was held accountable for his role in the affair. Socially, the scandal spread quickly, leaving both of us isolated and exposed. The life I thought I could manipulate and hide in had crumbled completely. Months later, I reflected on the consequences. The experience taught me the harshest lessons. Betrayal has weight, lies have consequences, and actions, even those we think we can hide, will eventually surface. Adeel's revenge was terrifying, precise, and deserved. For me, the emotional toll was immense. Guilt, fear, and humiliation were constant companions. But over time, I realized that this experience, as painful as it was, forced me to confront the truth about myself and the choices I had made. It was a harsh lesson in accountability. The hardest lesson I learned is this: betrayal is not just emotional, it's moral and social. When you break trust, the consequences are inevitable, and sometimes they come in forms far more terrifying than physical punishment. Accountability can be delivered in silence, in strategy, and in psychological reckoning. Adeel's meticulous, terrifying, and calculated payback destroyed the illusion of control I thought I had. I faced the consequences of my choices, and Cameron did too. And in the aftermath, I realized that some lessons are learned only through fear, humiliation, and facing the truth head-on. Husband locked me and my affair partner in a room and delivered terrible payback. And in the aftermath, the gravity of betrayal, accountability, and justice became painfully clear.